الرؤساء كذا يؤيدون فكرة قمر
أن يعود حزب الله إلى لبنان.
Good afternoon on this Wednesday, November 6th. I'm Yumna Naufad and these are today's headlines. Pro-Assad Arab Democratic Party leader Ali Eid and 3 others are charged with aiding a suspect in Tripoli's twin bombings last August. The United States and Russia failed to agree on either a date or the participants of the peace conference to end the war in Syria. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry meets Israeli and Palestinian leaders in Jerusalem as negotiations falter over Israeli settlement building. The leader of the pro-Assad Arab Democratic Party and 3 others have been charged with aiding a suspect in the twin bombings that rocked Lebanon's Tripoli back in August. Military prosecutor Judge Sa'ir charged Ali Eid as well as ADP member Ahmed Muhammad Ali with hiding a wanted suspect in the August 23rd car bombings in Tripoli and smuggling him to Syria. The suspects could face 2 years in prison if convicted. Sa'ir also charged Syrian citizen Sukaina Ismail with involvement in terrorist acts and escorting individuals who transported the 2 booby-trapped cars from Syria to Lebanon. Abda Palace has informed Kuwait that President Michel Sleiman will attend the Arab-African Summit this month amid a report that his visit to Saudi Arabia is imminent. Abda sources say that during the summit, which will be held in Kuwait on November 19th and 20th, Sleiman will call for the payment of funds that Arab countries had pledged during a donors' conference on Syria last January. Kuwait hosted the conference when participating nations pledged $1.5 billion for Syrian refugees, among which around $374 million would go to Lebanon. And in breaking news today, a student has passed away at the American University of Beirut after he fell off the 5th floor of the Faculty of Engineering and Architecture building. Security forces soon arrived at the scene to investigate the incident. Reports say that 20-year-old Marwan Mustafa Hamza died of mysterious circumstances after he was found dead at the campus this morning. One of his relatives in Al-Nabatiya in southern Lebanon told FutureTV that Hamza, who was an engineering student, had in fact committed suicide by throwing himself off the faculty building. His father has since headed to Beirut to follow up on the matter. The United States and Russia have failed to agree on either a date or the participants of a peace conference to end the war in Syria. UN envoy Lakhdar Brahimi chaired trilateral talks between officials from the 2 countries earlier in the day, but said at a subsequent news conference that no definitive date had been settled upon. Russia and the U.S. initially proposed the talks, dubbed Geneva II, in May, but they have been delayed by wrangling over the time frame and attendance list as differences have emerged between world powers. Meanwhile, opponents to President Bashar al-Assad remain deeply divided, with rebel forces in Syria itself in disarray. Furthermore, Damascus reiterated on Sunday that Assad will have to stay in power come what may, whilst Syrian National Coalition chief Ahmed Jabra said the opposition would not attend without a clear time frame for him to depart. Sigrid Kaag, the head of the international body tasked with ensuring Syria's chemical weapons are eliminated, briefed members of the United Nations Security Council on the progress made so far. After the closed-door meeting, Kaag, who is the special coordinator of the OPCW, said in Syria, and she explained to the press that the briefing was based on a report detailing the first full month of work by the joint mission.
The report speaks of progress to date under very difficult circumstances. It speaks also, of course, of the very rapid launch of the joint mission, leveraging the sort of combined assets and expertise of the 2 organizations. It speaks of the constructive cooperation with the Syrian authorities, and of course it also references the need for future international assistance, subject to the approval by the Executive Council of OPCW on the 15th of November of the destruction plan, which is the famous phase 3 of the overall plan. We've benefited from very quick and constructive collaboration, and it's perhaps also what I think. We count on continued close collaboration, and a number of member states note the need to keep up the momentum because it's important. It's a very important mission, and the intermediate deadlines that are anticipated in the destruction plan are very clear. For these questions, it's not necessarily what I believe. There's an ongoing discussion, negotiation this week in The Hague. The planning teams where the Syrian authorities, UN and OPCW experts are convening to look at the details, and the best possible options, of course, I presume will be decided upon, and it will be known by the 15th of November.
There is nothing yet to celebrate, but it is significant that we have made significant progress toward taking away a potent weapon of war and terror from Assad and his forces. In speaking to you today, I also want to address a myth associated with the chemical weapons elimination. The chemical weapons agreement and implementation have not changed the U.S. position on Assad. A man who gasses his people and who uses scuds and all other forms of terror against his people is not fit to govern those people. This deal takes away a weapon that Assad and his forces have used for tactical military advantage. This is not something he wanted, and it is not something that helps him. Having said that, it remains the United States' commitment, one that I know is shared by my council colleagues, to ensure that a red light for one type of weapon does not become a green light for others. Eliminating serious chemical weapons is not a substitute for ending the violence engulfing the country.
Coming up next, the Vatican launches a global survey to find out what Catholics really think about the Church teachings on family life and marriage. Stay tuned. Welcome back. An Egyptian court has dismissed a request by the Muslim Brotherhood for an injunction on a court ruling banning the Islamist movement and ordering its assets seized. A court in September had banned the Islamist movement from operating amid a fierce crackdown on the Brotherhood following the July ouster of President Mohamed Morsi. The Urgent Appeals Court, in its ruling, dismissed a request from the Brotherhood to suspend the ban. The leftist Tagamu party had issued a countersuit asking the court to dismiss the Brotherhood's motion. The official MENA news agency says Brotherhood lawyers had demanded the injunction until an appeal is filed and a verdict is made. John Kerry, the U.S. Secretary of State, is holding talks with Israeli and Palestinian leaders to try to keep the peace process from collapsing, urging them to reach a long, elusive deal. Kerry met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as well as with Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, in Bethlehem.
I want peace with the Palestinians. Israel wants peace with the Palestinians. We agreed 3 months ago on certain terms. We stand by those terms. We abide scrupulously by the terms of the agreement and the understanding in which we launched the negotiations. I'm concerned about their progress because I see the Palestinians continuing with incitements, continuing to create artificial crises, continuing to avoid and run away from the historic decisions that are needed to make a genuine peace. I hope that your visit can help steer them back to a place where we could achieve the historical peace that we seek and that our people deserve. And I welcome you again to Jerusalem. Welcome.
I hope that we will continue in the good faith that brought the parties together in the first place. This can be achieved with good faith, with a serious effort on both sides to make real compromises and hard decisions. This can be achieved. President Obama sees a road ahead, as do I. And we share a belief in this process, or we wouldn't put this time into it. So I look forward to the conversations we'll have beginning today, and I respect everybody's patience with us, that we are not talking every day about what we're doing. We need the space to negotiate privately, secretly, quietly, and we will continue to do that. We have 6 months ahead of us on the timetable we've set for ourselves, and I'm confident that we have the ability to make progress.
A suicide bomber detonated an oil tanker rigged with explosives at a police station north of Baghdad, killing 5 policemen, while attacks elsewhere left 2 of them dead. Iraq is mired in its worst violence since 2008, with more than 5,500 people killed this year, despite several major military operations targeting insurgents and tightened security measures. In Wednesday's deadliest attack, a suicide bomber drove the explosives-rigged tanker in front of a police station in Muqdiyah in the rest of Diyala province and detonated it at the entrance, according to police and a doctor. The attack killed 5 people and wounded 7 others, all police, and caused massive damage to the station. The bombing is the latest in a string of attacks targeting police in the past week in Kirkuk, Salahuddin, and Diyala provinces. Iran says it is ready to play a new role on the international stage. This is according to Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif, who was attending the 37th UNESCO General Conference in Paris, where he was due to make a speech one day before negotiations were to resume in Geneva on Iran's nuclear program. The talks on Thursday are aimed at ending a standoff over the country's nuclear program, which Western powers suspect may be aimed at developing nuclear weapons, despite Iran's denials. A series of bombs packed with ball bearings exploded outside a provincial headquarters of China's ruling Communist Party. Police and reports are saying that they killed at least 1 person. The blasts in Taiyuan come a little over a week after a fatal car crash described as authorities as a terrorist attack in Tiananmen Square, the symbolic heart of the Chinese state, and days ahead of a highly anticipated meeting of top party leaders in Beijing. 1 person was confirmed dead, another was severely wounded, and 7 slightly hurt in the blasts, a provincial government news portal said, citing police. Ball bearings were seen scattered around the scene. Now, China's official Xinhua news agency reports. U.S. President Barack Obama met American business executives to enlist their support for a jump-started campaign to overhaul the nation's immigration system. The administration's plan to reform immigration had been sidelined recently by more pressing matters: the government shutdown, squabbles with Republicans over the budget, and the bumpy rollout of the Affordable Care Act, known popularly as Obamacare. The president told chief executives of McDonald's, Lockheed Martin, Motorola, and other key corporations that comprehensive immigration reform will add billions to the U.S. economy.
We know that the Senate bipartisan bill that already passed would grow the economy by $1.4 trillion, above and beyond the growth that's already taking place. We know it'll reduce our deficit by $850 billion. This is not these aren't my estimates. These are independent estimates that have been made about the salutary effect that comprehensive immigration reform will have on our economy. And these businesses understand that. They understand that if we are serious about border security, if we do a better job of streamlining the legal immigration system, if we are holding employers who aren't doing the right thing accountable, and we provide a pathway to citizenship for those who have paid a fine, learned English, are getting to the back of the line, taking their responsibilities, that altogether these businesses are going to have more customers. We're going to see people who are currently working here out of the shadows, paying taxes, and getting right with the law. We have the opportunity, when young people come to this country to study on our dime, making sure that if they're able and willing, they can stay here, start businesses of their own, contribute to our economy, help our exports. So this is something that has strong bipartisan support. Keep in mind that my predecessor, George W. Bush, was a strong supporter of this.
Vatican officials say Catholics should not expect quick changes to church rules against divorce, contraception, and gay marriage, even if a majority of Catholics express dissenting views in a global survey. The Vatican sent a survey of 39 questions to dioceses around the world ahead of a meeting of bishops known as a synod on the theme of the family scheduled for next October. For the first time in preparation for such a meeting, the Vatican asked bishops to share the survey widely with parish priests and for them to consult with parishioners. The questions under 8 main headings, according to subjects, included themes such as homosexual marriage, birth control, and how Catholics who have divorced and remarried should be treated in the 1.2 billion member church. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Pro-Assad Arab Democratic Party leader Ali Eid and 3 others are charged with aiding a suspect in Tripoli's twin bombings happened last August. The United States and Russia failed to agree on either a date or the participant of the Geneva II peace conference to end the war in Syria. And U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry meets Israeli and Palestinian leaders in Jerusalem as negotiations falter over Israeli settlement building. Those are your Wednesday headlines live on Future Television in Beirut. I'm Nimna Naufal, wishing you a good night.
الرؤساء كمان يؤيدون فكرة
أن يعود حزب الله إلى لبنان